HOA Karen called the cops on me. One look at my badge and she begged for mercy. They say some people knock on your door to borrow sugar. Karen knocked like she was collecting a soul. It was our third morning in Brookvale Ridge. I was still unpacking boxes. The porch light hadn't even been screwed in yet, and my 6-year-old daughter Ava was in the front room coloring sunflowers on cardboard. I'd just come from 3 months of back-to-back task forces. A quiet move was all I wanted. Then she arrived. No smile, no introduction, no questions. Just a clipboard, a neon windbreaker with HOA enforcement scrawled in Sharpie, and a voice like a door hinge rusted shut. "You can't park that government vehicle on your driveway," she said before even stepping off the curb. I looked over my shoulder. Unmarked black Ford Explorer. Government-issued plates. Nothing special, except the federal badge tucked in the dash. "I'm pretty sure I can," I said, setting down the garden hose. Karen pursed her lips. "Brookvale Ridge Community Association prohibits commercial or security vehicles from being stored in view. You're violating Article 7, subsection D." I didn't say anything right away. Not because I was shocked, no. I'd worked undercover through biker gangs, gun rings, even infiltrated a smuggling cartel in El Paso. I'd just never been scolded on my own driveway by a woman in yoga pants claiming to be a government of one. I wasn't told there was an HOA, I finally said. Karen scoffed, flipping a laminated pamphlet toward me. "We're private. Formed 2 years ago. All new residents are subject to immediate orientation." "Let me guess," I said, flipping through the pages. "You're the president." Her smile was tight and smug. "I prefer director of operations." I was tired, still jet-lagged, so I gave her the benefit of the doubt. "Look," I said, "I'm not here to cause issues. We just moved in. My daughter's starting school next week. Let me review this stuff and I'll follow up." That should have been enough, but with people like Karen, nothing is. "I'm Alex Navarro, federal special agent, 12 years in the field. I've been yelled at by drug lords, stabbed in a bathroom stall, and thrown off a dock by a shipping crew in Veracruz. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for suburban warfare. Within 48 hours of that driveway encounter, I received 6 written HOA violations slipped under my door. They weren't from the city, they were from Karen. Failure to pre-approve exterior color of storm door. Government surveillance vehicle violating visual continuity. Unregistered child structure. Ava's plastic slide. Aggressive landscape lighting. Intimidating presence of resident. That last one, yeah, that was real. I called the city records office, asked for HOA documentation for Brookvale Ridge. They had none, not even a filing. No articles of incorporation, no charter, no registered board. "You're sure?" I asked the clerk. "Positive," she said. "That's an open residential zone. You've got city ordinances, but there's no HOA." That night, I checked Karen's so-called HOA website. It was a free Wix page with a single PDF and a PayPal link titled Dues Enforcement Portal. I knew a con when I saw one, and I wasn't just annoyed anymore. I was intrigued. The next morning, Karen was back, this time with 2 other residents, a nervous man in khakis and a woman who looked like she hadn't slept since 2003. They stood across my lawn like a firing squad. "We've had complaints," Karen began, "about what your tone, your vehicle, and frankly, the type of people you may be inviting into the neighborhood." My blood ran cold. I knew exactly what she was implying. I took a slow breath. "And what type of people is that?" Director She blinked, then masked it. "We promote a culture of cleanliness and safety. That includes accountability." "Here's what I'm accountable to," I said, reaching into my jacket and flipping open my federal ID. "This is a DOJ credential. You just accused a federal agent of being a neighborhood threat." The color drained from her face. The other 2 stepped back, like the wind had changed directions. I didn't know," she stammered. "No, you didn't, because you didn't ask. You assumed, you threatened, and you posted signs on my lawn. That's trespassing. You filed false enforcement claims. That's fraud. Karen's eyes darted between me and the ID. You'll hear from my legal team, she hissed. Good, I said, and stepping closer. I'd love to talk to them, but before you do that, you might want to check your own paperwork because what you're running isn't an HOA. It's a scam, and I've brought down bigger organizations than yours. She left without another word. I could have stopped there, but something told me Karen wasn't done, so I started digging. The deeper I dug, the faker it all became. Karen's so-called HOA had no legal status, no articles of incorporation, no EIN, no recorded filings with the county clerk. The dues she collected weren't tied to a bank account under an organization. They were being funneled into her personal Venmo under the name Brookvale HOA Ops. And somehow, she still got people to comply. Why fear? Fear of fines, fear of confrontation, fear of not being neighborly. And Karen used that fear like a weapon sharpened on whispers. She mailed violation notices to elderly couples, threatened young families with lien placement, told renters they'd be evicted for nonconformance. None of it had teeth, but the illusion that was her sharpest tool. I started asking around, quietly, of course. I'd spent a decade gathering intel on the worst this country could cough up. This was no different, just in yoga pants. I knocked on a few doors with coffee in hand, chatted while walking Ava to the bus stop. Most neighbors were polite but guarded. A few looked at the curb before whispering back. She fined us $500 for a bird feeder, one woman said. She said our toddler's wading pool broke water containment ordinances, said another. She threatened to call Child Protective Services because I had untrimmed hedges, said it was evidence of domestic disorder. My hands clenched. This wasn't about aesthetics. This was control. A man named Daryl finally told me what I needed. Last year, he said, Karen held a mandatory HOA meeting in her garage, brought in a fake attorney, handed out forms with HOA logos and everything. Fake attorney. Found out later he was her cousin. Used to sell timeshares, and no one questioned it. Daryl looked ashamed. She talks fast, has printed documents, uses words like statutory compliance. Makes you feel stupid if you ask questions. That tracked. Karen didn't build an HOA. She built a conspiracy of confidence. So I went to the city zoning department. I need confirmation. I told the records manager, Brookvale Ridge is not under HOA jurisdiction. He pulled up the database, scanned it, printed a sheet, confirmed. No HOA filing. If someone's enforcing anything around there, it's a private individual breaking municipal code. I had what I needed. That night, I pulled every violation Karen had taped to my door, scanned them, highlighted every legal-sounding phrase, then cross-referenced them with actual municipal code. None matched. Her citations. Nonsense. Her bylaws lifted word for word from an HOA template blog. Her signatures all signed Brookvale Board no names. No transparency. So I did what I was trained to do. I documented everything, photo evidence, audio clips, metadata from her website, her newsletter history, every fake violation, every resident statement, even doorbell cam footage of her trespassing. I built a full-case dossier. Then I called an old friend, Monica Wu, a legal analyst who'd worked white-collar cases with me back in D.C. What you're sitting on, she said after reviewing my report, is neighborhood extortion, civil fraud, maybe even wire fraud if those digital payments cross state lines. Will the DOJ take it? Not unless you want to make a federal example out of her. I thought about Ava. I thought about the parents she'd scared, the veterans she'd silenced, the loneliness behind those forced smiles in this cul-de-sac. Yeah, I wanted to make an example. Karen didn't know what was coming, but she knew something was wrong. Because on the morning of the third week, I walked outside to find all my trash bins lined with sticky notes. Notice excessive waste violates Brookvale Sanitation Harmony. Clause, Harmony Clause. Now she was just making up words. Then I saw her pacing on the sidewalk across the street, phone glued to her face. She pointed at my house. 3 hours later, the cops showed up. It was 2 cruisers, lights flashing, No sirens. Ava watched from the window, confused and scared. I opened the door calmly. "Sir," one officer said, stepping forward, "we received a report of aggressive behavior, harassment of community members." "Who reported it?" He hesitated. "Karen Delaney." I handed him a folder. Inside, notarized statements from 5 neighbors. Screenshots of fraudulent notices. A hard drive of camera footage. And a notarized city record showing no official HOA in Brookvale Ridge. The officer flipped through it, then paused at the last page, my federal credentials. "Your DOJ?" I nodded. "Karen has been impersonating a legal authority, trespassing, issuing false citations, and collecting unlawful funds. I suggest you read all of that. Carefully." His partner whistled low. "We've been getting reports on her for a while. This explains a lot." I crossed my arms. "Now, are we done here?" "My daughter's watching." He nodded. "We're done." As they turned to leave, Karen burst from her porch, heels clacking on the concrete, voice shrill. "Don't just walk away. He's the threat here. He has surveillance cameras and a black ops SUV." The officer looked back. "Ma'am, we've seen his ID." Karen froze. He held up the badge. "He's a federal agent, and you need to stop lying to the police." Her mouth opened, then closed, and for the first time, Karen backed away. For someone who loved control, Karen didn't handle losing it well. After the cops left that afternoon, the neighborhood felt different, like someone had lifted a glass dome of silence. I saw it in the way people peeked out from behind blinds, then started coming out onto porches again. They waved, smiled. Some even walked their dogs on my side of the street for the first time. Karen had ruled this place through intimidation, rules layered on top of fiction, and the belief that nobody would challenge her. Then I showed my badge, and the illusion cracked like a dropped wine glass. But Karen wasn't finished. That night, Ava and I were eating on the back deck mac and cheese and grilled peaches when we heard the thud against our front door. I opened it cautiously. Another laminated violation notice. Notice of HOA. Emergency meeting. Mandatory attendance agenda. Hostile federal presence in residential zones. Restoration of HOA safety protocols. Community vote on ejectment measures. I almost laughed, but Ava looked up at me, fork frozen midair. "What's ejectment?" "It's when someone tries to kick you out." She furrowed her brow. "Can she do that?" I kneeled beside her. "No, sweetheart. She just wants people to think she can." But she's not in charge anymore. But she still acts like she is. That stuck with me. Because Ava was right, Karen wasn't stopping. She was escalating. The next day, I found out just how far she was willing to go. Daryl, the neighbor who told me about the fake attorney cousin, knocked on my door early that morning. "You need to see this," he said, holding up his phone. It was a Facebook group, Brookvale Neighbors for Safety and Peace. Karen was the admin. At the top was a post-public safety alert: "A dangerous man lives among us. Residents are advised to limit contact and report any suspicious behavior. His official-looking badge has not been verified. His child may be used as a cover story. Please share this post. Safety comes first." I blinked. There was a photo me and Ava unloading groceries from the truck, a zoomed-in crop of my daughter's face. I couldn't breathe for a second. That wasn't just harassment. That was targeting. I called Monica again. Now it's defamation. She said, voice cold, "You can sue her for civil damages. And if she took that photo from your property, we may be looking at criminal invasion of privacy. Can I get the site taken down? File a privacy violation complaint? I'll walk you through it, but I suggest we move forward with the lawsuit now. You've got the evidence. She just gave us the motive." We filed the next day. Navarro v. Delaney civil suit: defamation, impersonation of a public official, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and fraud. The paperwork went out. The sheriff's office got involved again. And this time, Karen was served in the middle of her fake HOA emergency meeting. Neighbors told me she turned white as the envelope hit her palm. She tried to rally the group, tried to spin it, but nobody spoke up. People had seen the footage, heard the badge click open, watched the police leave me alone and confront her. The tide had turned, but the moment that sealed her fate came 3 nights later. She tried to host an HOA walkthrough inspection with flashlights and clipboards marching from yard to yard, barking about porch lights and trash bins. Except this time, folks recorded it. One video went viral on TikTok. Karen shouting, "This garbage violates visual cohesion standards," while waving a flashlight at a toddler's bubble machine. The caption, "When the HOA's fake but her ego's real." The video hit 1.2 million views in 36 hours. Suddenly, everyone knew. Not just Brookvale. Everyone. Local news picked it up next. Fake HOA president faces lawsuit. From federal agent in suburban scandal. They reached out for comment. I gave one. Brookvale Ridge was meant to be a quiet place for my daughter and I to heal. Instead, we were harassed, intimidated, and targeted by someone pretending to represent the community. I'm speaking up not just for my family, but for every neighbor too afraid to challenge someone waving a clipboard. That quote ended up in 3 papers in a radio interview. Karen, she posted a video from her car, crying into the camera about being bullied by federal overreach and defending traditional neighborhood values. No one cared. The top comment read, "Lady, you told a 6-year-old her sidewalk chalk wasn't regulation. Sit down." Then came the final blow. Renee, the sleepless-looking woman who'd first stood beside Karen, knocked on my door. She looked tired, but free. I left the board. She said, "There was no board." I replied. She nodded. "I know that now. I thought I was helping." She made it sound like we had a real thing, like we were the last line between order and chaos. Karen's great at rewriting the truth. "She's not anymore," Renee said. "People are ready to speak. We're ready to testify." She handed me a flash drive. Meeting recordings. Karen yelling about enforcement optics. Discussing ways to nudge out the problem house. Admitting she embellished the HOA's existence to scare people into compliance. It was over. I updated the case file. The sheriff's office reopened their investigation. The DA's office requested a sit-down, and for the first time in over a month, I let Ava ride her bike down the street without watching from behind a curtain, because the street was ours again. Karen didn't go quietly. People like her never do. She didn't disappear in the night. She didn't cry in court and beg forgiveness. No, Karen tried to rally a rebellion. One last desperate push to take back the narrative. She printed flyers, dozens of them, taped to stop signs, stuffed into mailboxes, left on windshields at the grocery store. Federal agent weaponizes government to destroy local HOA. We are under siege. Our values are being erased. If we let this happen in Brookvale Ridge, it can happen anywhere. I counted no less than 6 typos. Still, it might have worked if she hadn't gone too far. She put Ava's name in the flyer, not just mine. Ava's. That's when the public backlash ignited like dry kindling. I didn't need to call the sheriff. My neighbors did it for me. Within hours, multiple families filed harassment complaints. The principal at Ava's school personally called to express support. "Your daughter's one of the kindest kids we've seen in years," she said. What that woman did. That's not just harassment, it's cruelty. That same night, Karen was served with a temporary restraining order, this one for endangering a minor through targeted defamation. Her attempt to smear me had officially become a matter of child endangerment, and people noticed. By the weekend, the whole neighborhood turned. People who once nodded politely and avoided eye contact were now crossing the street to talk to me. An older couple brought over sweet tea and apologized for not standing up sooner. A high schooler offered to repaint Ava's sidewalk chalk flowers after they were hosed down by Karen last month. Even Daryl, the first brave soul to speak out, posted in the community group. We were silent because we were scared, but we forgot something. Fear doesn't win unless you let it. I'm with Alex Navarro. I'm with Ava. That post got 183 likes. In a neighborhood of 74 homes, Karen doubled down one last time. She hosted a Brookvale Truth Forum on her lawn, set up a tent, folding chairs, a karaoke mic plugged into a garden amp. Only 4 people showed up. She started her speech with a trembling voice. I have suffered for trying to protect this neighborhood from chaos. I have endured attacks by men in suits and little girls with sidewalk chalk. I have been humiliated for speaking the truth. Then, the mic cut out. Someone, Renee, I later learned had unplugged the extension cord. Karen tried to continue without it, shouting into the air. People filmed her with their phones. Some laughed. Others just shook their heads. By the next day, her house had a for sale sign. The caption read, "Private sale, no HOA." But I wasn't done. My case against her went to small claims court. It wasn't about money, it was about setting precedent. With Monica's help, we presented 74 pages of evidence, fake fines, threats, defamation, digital impersonation, and an entire folder of statements from neighbors. Karen, without a lawyer, tried to argue she'd done what was best for community harmony. The judge interrupted her. Ms. Delaney, your organization never existed legally. Your actions endangered children and misled dozens of residents. This was not governance, it was coercion. We won. Damages awarded $48,000. Karen didn't have it. She'd already liquidated what she could. The rest would come in garnished wages if she ever found a job again. But more than money, the verdict came with something better. A cease and desist order banning her from any community leadership, neighborhood enforcement, or HOA representation anywhere in the state. Karen packed her things the following week. I watched from the porch as the movers carried her last cardboard boxes. No neighbors waved. No one offered help. She left as she had arrived, entitled and alone. Ava came outside and sat next to me. She's really gone. I nodded. She won't bother anyone again. Good, she said. Can we paint more flowers now? Yeah, baby, as many as you want. The next weekend, the whole cul-de-sac came alive. We held the first ever Brookvale Block Reconnect. No permission slips, no gatekeepers, no one checking your mailbox color, just music, burgers, chalk art, and laughter. Renee brought a cake that said, "No HOA, no problem." Daryl printed t-shirts, "Clipboard don't make you God." Ava drew Bella the sidewalk chalk unicorn. Kids added stars around her. Someone built a cardboard badge and taped it to the mailbox community defender. I didn't ask for it, but I appreciated it. Karen's house sold within a month to a teacher and his husband. They brought plants and homemade banana bread. Ava asked them if they liked sidewalk chalk. They said yes. That was all she needed. I spoke at a city council meeting later that fall. They were reviewing a new ordinance on HOA transparency. They asked if I had anything to say. I said this: the scariest part of what happened in my neighborhood wasn't Karen's clipboard. It was the silence she created. Good people who knew better kept their heads down because they didn't want trouble. And I get that. But silence is the oxygen that fake power breathes. I'm not against HOAs. I'm against fraud. I'm against intimidation wrapped in procedure. My name is Alex Navarro. I'm a federal agent. And I almost lost my daughter's peace to a woman who didn't own anything but fear. Let's not let that happen again. The ordinance passed unanimously. Power used to mean sirens, gun belts, courtroom gavels, or so I thought. But after what happened in Brookvale Ridge, I learned something else. Real power is quieter. It's a neighbor standing up when no one else will. A kid drawing sunflowers after someone tried to erase her. A community learning to stop waiting for permission to be good to each other. And most of all, it's knowing the worst thing someone can take from you is your belief that you belong. Life moved on after Karen left. The HOA signs were gone. Her clipboard, legend said, had been left behind in the recycling bin and repurposed as firewood during a backyard BBQ. The laminated violations, we turned them into coasters for our block parties. Renee helped launch a real neighborhood committee, not a governing body, just a group that organizes cleanups, cookouts, and watches out for widows who need groceries. We call it the Brookvale Roundtable. We don't enforce, we don't fine. We show up. One afternoon in November, I got a call from Monica. Just thought you'd want to know. She said, Another HOA grifter in East Austin tried the same thing Karen did. You know what happened? What residents pushed back, cited the Navarro ruling, said, "We're not falling for that again." I smiled. One down, a few thousand to go. Still think this was just about sidewalk chalk. I glanced outside at Ava and her friends chalking a rainbow on the driveway. No, I said, this was about the world they're going to inherit. Ava sleeps better now. She doesn't ask why Karen hated her chalk drawings. She doesn't flinch when someone knocks. And when she does ask questions about rules, about who gets to say what's right or wrong, I answer carefully. Because truth matters. And so does trust. I thought adults were supposed to help, she said once, curled up with her sketch pad. They are, I told her, but some adults forget the difference between helping and controlling. And when that happens, other people have to speak up. She nodded like she already knew. Every so often, I still get messages, emails from people in small towns, Facebook DMs from nervous neighbors, stories that sound all too familiar. My HOA president just threatened to evict my sister because she uses a wheelchair ramp. Our board fined me $1,000 for having too many birthday balloons. They said they could tear down my fence without permission. Is that legal? I answer them when I can. Because now I'm not just a father or a federal agent, I'm something else. I'm a witness to how far abuse of power can go if nobody says stop. To what happens when someone builds their identity on domination and flimsy rules. To the courage it takes for one person to say no. You don't get to own this street, this sky, this peace. 6 months after the lawsuit ended, Ava and I planted a tree right where the old HOA violation notice post used to stand. It's a sycamore, tall, stubborn, with leaves that shake in the wind like they're daring someone to silence them. We call it the tree of permission, not because we asked for it, but because we didn't need to. The new family across the street, Brandon and Marcus, started a garden. Every kid on the block helped. Ava named it Peace Petals. They hung a chalkboard sign out front, no permits needed, just kindness. And slowly, Brookvale Ridge became what it had always pretended to be, a real community. The last time I saw Karen, it was on a live stream. She was sitting in a hotel conference room, hair dyed auburn, voice carefully restrained. She was calling herself a community optimization consultant, giving a talk on restoring order through neighborhood micro-governance, but the chat lit up instantly with people posting links to news stories, to the lawsuit, to the TikToks. The stream ended halfway through, and that, I hope, is the last time anyone gives her a microphone. So what does power look like now? It looks like Ava, knees dusty with chalk, drawing a bright red heart over the sidewalk where Karen once threatened to call CPS. It looks like neighbors grilling on front lawns instead of whispering behind curtains. It looks like a father walking to his mailbox without a pit in his stomach. It looks like peace restored not because someone in charge gave it back, but because we took it back together. Have you ever been made to feel powerless by someone hiding behind fake rules, authority, or procedure? Have you witnessed control disguised as order, or silence mistaken for agreement? Now's the time to speak up. What does power look like where you live? Have you experienced a Karen who took it too far? How do we protect our communities not just from bad actors, but from complicity? Comment below, share your story, because the more we speak, the less anyone can silence us. The badge got her attention, but the truth, that's what brought her down.